Swapping those beetles. Time to work. Normally, I don't have to do this part to get them into a different mesh tray, but I made a change to the trays, and so here we are. This will take a little longer than normal, but that's alright. Okay, so these, let me pile these somewhere. We'll be down here. Alright, so we got those guys in there. Put them in the mealworms. And I sound a little funny because I've got a full face respirator on, so somebody give me a holler and let me know if you can hear me. I gotta get my brand figured out here. Can anyone hear me as we get these beetles squared away? One and done. Alright, how many more we got left? 2, 4, 6, 8. 8 more. There's to grow. Set them there. We'll stack them up on the other side here in a little bit. Can you guys hear me okay? Anybody there? One of those. One of those. This holder, strap holder, doesn't hold it steady very well. So, if you think these beetles have a hard ride, I'm sure you guys might as well. Alright, over here. I gotta dig out the other ones. These guys. Okay, so let's go back. Super easy to do. leave. Oh! And you notice this black shirt is not friendly for keeping beetle free. They hide much easier. Good hole. Get back in there. Okay. Okay, I'll put this guy back. This can all stay right there. Alright. Now we can get to work. Whew. And all those beetles. Over. The main reason I'm doing this is switching to a different mesh bottom tray is that the mealworms don't fit in these blue trays, so I had to cut the sides. See how that side's cut? It's not as wide as this side. I had to cut that side, so I'm taking the previous ones, which I had started using just to play around with, switching to the new ones that will fit with my trays. Thank you, Trent. Trent, can you do me a favor? Can you hear me talking? I'm wearing my respirator, so it sounds wonky, but I'm curious if anyone can actually hear me. Yes, thank you. Okay, one down. I don't know how many more. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So hopefully there's only 8. What are these? Hey Julie, it's hard for me to see, so I'm glad I caught your comment there. These are darkling beetles. These are darkling beetles, and what they do is they eat, party hard, mate, and then lay eggs. Those eggs turn into mealworms, which, there we go, they turn into mealworms. So then I take these mealworms and I separate them, size them, separate them from their frass, their manure, and then I sell them. So these beetles are responsible to keep the colony going to get more larvae. And we have to take care of them. And every week we have to swap them like this to new brand so that they have a place to lay more eggs. And what should be happening is all I should need to do is lift the tray, this mesh tray, and put it in the next one. Not this wiping off stuff. But I see that comment there. But I needed to cut the tray, so a little bit behind, and here we are. Karen, you wanted to do this. Don't sell the plastic totes there. Or is that a do-you? Probably a do-you, sell the plastic totes they're in. I have in the past, but I am not really going to do that moving forward. Every time I do it, it's a huge pain in the neck from a freight perspective. And so I have elected to stop doing it. So, and there are two different kinds of trays here right now. So this blue tray, this one, these are from the Netherlands, from a company called Beacon Camp. You can buy these from a Canadian company called Tricycle.eco by the pallet, 85 to a pallet. They're up in Canada, super nice people. Definitely give them a shout if you are interested in these trays. They are not cheap. Shipping is not cheap, but they are sturdy. I bought 1,100 of these like 4 or 5 years ago, and I've broken 2 of them, and it was user error. It was cold and I dropped one right outside. That was my fault, not the tray's fault. And the other one, I think I had too much weight in it, and I picked it up with one hand on the, like this, on the side, and so it was the long ways, and the weight just went that way, and it basically tore, oddly enough. But again, that was my fault, picking it up with one hand. So these trays are amazing. And then these mesh trays, these are new to me. I got them probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and Julie, I see that coming up in a sec. I got those mesh trays about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and have just started to introduce them into the process. So this is actually the second time I've used them, swapped with them. You guys are here along for the ride. So what do I feed them? These mealworms get fed wheat bran, which is what was just in that tray and what I was scooping out of that bucket. Wheat bran. And water gel crystals. So a lot of people will use carrots, potatoes, food scraps from their table or from the kitchen. But because of what I need to do at this scale, I need a good process, and I need something that's cost effective, and carrots and potatoes are not. They have to be collected. They have to be cleaned, processed, stored, and it's just not financially feasible. And so I use water gel crystals, and that's gotten us where we are now. I'm actually doing a test right now with bokashi, well, food waste that I hope to turn into bokashi. It is a test right back there in that bucket. So it's full of food waste and bokashi bran packaged or packed together. And the hope is that it will break down the food enough that I can emulsify it a bit, and then feed that to soldier fly and to the mealworms. We'll see how they like it. So then I can use food waste, collect that from the community, and put it to good use instead of it going to the landfill. So one step at a time. We'll see how the initial test goes. Really, I'm with you, but I'm biased. I enjoy it a lot. I started doing this in 3 trays 8 years ago for chickens. And if you give me a moment, I'll show you. I get a lot more than 3 trays now. Add some snippety beetles there. I'll clean the bottoms off a little bit. Alright, so we are now, well, I got to turn the light on. Over to the light switch. Right over chair. The office fans out there. So now we're here, and you can see that goes all the way back. And all those are trays. Trays and trays and trays and trays. Full of mealworms. Just full of them. So, a lot of stuff. What's the name of those trays for beetles? So, these are just mesh inserts. Mesh insert trays. I bought 2 pallets of these from China. If anybody can find a U.S. supplier, I will gladly buy from them if it's cost effective, but nobody makes these in the U.S. There's no market for this yet, so it's not the U.S.'s fault. There's just no market for it. There's not a lot of people crazy like me that need this many of them. So 2 pallets was 250 of those trays, and they were not cheap. But here we are. Thank you guys for the likes and the follows. I didn't expect that. I just kind of decided to go live and see what happens. Alright. More scoops. The mesh is 2 millimeters. 2 millimeter gap, I should say. It is specific for the beetles. I don't know, so what I will say Oh, I can't say your name, Bomba girl. Almost got me. I try to stay kid friendly here, so I'm not giving you a hard time. The mesh is 2mm spacing. It's pretty small, but what I will say is I do not know if this works. So I've tested multiple mesh before, had some good success, had some not. So this mesh was a size that I have had success with in the past, but I just started using these 2 weeks ago, and it takes anywhere from 10 to 12 weeks for my bins to finish. So it's going to be a while before I know if eggs are successfully being laid and I'm getting the same quantities, yada yada. So I'm not endorsing these yet, but I am very hopeful, because like up here, this is where the mesh or the bran is actually stuck to the screen. Some of that is moisture, some of that is eggs. So I believe it's going to work, but until it actually does, I'm not going to say that the 2mm mesh is the right size. And this is super inefficient compared to how these would normally be used. Normally all I would have to do is to swap to lift this one up that's in my hand and put it in another tray, not use two different ones. So what this will do, once I'm using them that all have that cut edge that I had to modify to fit my trays, once they're all like that, this process is going to be crazy smooth. I'll show that to you guys on the next one. Unless somebody asks me a question and then my ADHD brain will completely forget what the heck I was going to do. Okay. Self-diagnosed ADHD anyway. Who knows what I really have. Oh, el desconocido. I started raising these mealworms originally for chickens. So I mean, chickens love it. Super good protein source. The tip that I will give you that I just learned recently is that beetles, we actually, so at 3 months we cull the beetles. They're still alive, but we feed them to chickens. And what I learned recently is that the beetles have a ton of calcium, which is good for your chickens, right? So get your chickens used to eating the beetles, because once they're done laying eggs, a lot of those beetles are still alive, but they're not useful from a farming perspective. So at 3 months, get rid of them, replace them with new fresh beetles, and feed those beetles to your chickens. And then use your larva, or I'm sorry, your pupa. If you have excess amount of pupa, they still have a lot of nutrients and more protein than the mealworm. So if you do find an overabundance of pupa, feed those to your flock, especially during molting when they need that extra protein boost. Also follow me, you know, like if raising mealworms is interesting, I have quite a bit of content on that because that's what I'm doing. Okay, I'm getting tired. It's been a long day. You start out as eggs. Is the point to get to the mealworms or the beetles or both? The point is to, well, both. From a farming perspective, because you need the beetles to party hard, lay more eggs, and get you more mealworms. The mealworms are the, I guess what I would say is the cash crop. They're the thing you're selling most of. I do sell freshly hatched beetles, but folks are mostly after the larvae to feed things. Poultry, reptiles, small mammals, things like that. The other thing is the frass. So the mealworms eat, grow, and poop. That is their frass. It's a very sandy substance. It is dusty, which is why I have a full face respirator on. It's an allergen. I am allergic to it. I was allergic to it when I first started, but if you do not have allergies, you can still get them over time for exposure. So wear your mask. This isn't a political thing. It's not a control statement. If you want to raise mealworms for a long period of time, wear a mask. So, W. Baldy. I'll be bald here eventually. Oh, it just moved the question. I was going to answer additional. Okay, they start out as eggs. It's a chicken and egg kind of thing. So the beetles are going to lay the eggs. The eggs are going to hatch into the larvae. The larvae are going to turn into pupa if you let them. And then the pupa turn into beetles and do it all over again. So was the egg first or was the beetle first? What did they start as? You know. Yeah. Oh, there's two. What kind of beetle? Great question. There are thousands of these, thousands of different species of darkling beetles. That's what these are. The darkling beetle is basically what it sounds like, right? A dark colored beetle. And so there are thousands of species. This is the Tenebrio molitor. One of my easiest feeders to farm. Yes, it is not hard to farm mealworms. It is hard to farm them from a business perspective and stay revenue positive. But from a colony and raising for, as a supplement to something's diet, like a reptile or poultry, it is not hard to get a colony going. And they're very forgiving. What I like about them is you could not touch this place for a week, and they'll be okay. You're going to have a few things that you have to clean up and mess with, but the colony will be okay. And the mommy beetle and the daddy beetle fall in love. Yep, that's how it goes. They fall in love. They come to me, I perform the ceremony, and away they go. Off to make a little larva. What substrate? This is wheat bran. The substrate to use is, my recommendation is whatever you can get. And then if you have an option between wheat bran or oats, use wheat bran. It makes your life a lot easier from a sifting perspective. It doesn't retain heat or moisture as badly as wheat bran. I'm sorry, as badly as oats, so it's wheat bran. But there are a lot of people that use oats because oats are readily accessible in the grocery store. And that works just fine. You'll be able to, if you're going to feed 2 reptiles, you will be just fine using oats. Don't complicate it. Try what works for you. And that's what's going to be successful. You'll drive yourself nuts if you try to find bran and can't find it and you think you can, that's the only thing you can use. Oats are not the end of the world. I was going to show you guys what this would look like in a normal scenario, and I keep forgetting to do that. Because normally I would just have to pick this up and put it in another one. So we'll do that next. We will do that next. I'm going to keep reminding myself. Show the optimal way. Alright, I'm not doing any co-hosting at the moment. I'm not prepared for that. At any moment here I might have a appointment show up, so let's see. I need more clean trays. So I'm going to walk back to the farm, or back in the back here where we squirrel them away from a storage perspective. And you can see all the trays, all the trays, all the trays. Oh, there's some clean ones right in there. We don't need to get in here. We don't have to hydrate these trays because they're not old enough yet, and so we just squirrel away trays in here. So I'm going to go in here. It's going to be a little dark. Oh my goodness, there's one on the floor there. It's nice and dark, spooky. Watch out for the mealworms, everyone. Yep, there's a lot of stuff in here. And ideally, once we get things really figured out, if we figure out a hydration method that works and doesn't negatively impact production, we may not need those aisles, which means even more trays back there. So let me just wait, no. All right, we're going to show a good example. A smooth example here. Let's do pick up 2. Let's see if I can pick up 3 and make this the last trip. Sorry for the camera angle there. Do the best I can with my 2 hands. For those of you that have joined recently, I am speaking through a respirator. I have to wear a full face respirator because of the dust and allergens, so that's why I sound wonky. Or maybe I sound fantastic. I don't know. I'll listen to it later. Okay. So, oh man, I gotta get down in there and get some. Oh yeah, I don't have any. It's gonna take me more effort to dig it out. Let's see what we can make work here. Scoop. There we go. Oddly enough, each scoop is about 1 kilogram. It worked out really well. For just a process perspective, got lucky on the first scoop I bought from the feed store. A little Darth Vader-ish, but it's fine. Good, good, good. Alright, so how this is supposed to work. Maybe to show this I need one of those blue trays. Let me go grab one of those. We're gonna go, I can see one. It's in there. This is a storage clean area. Okay, so this is the, what I will say is the bottom. See? Right? And this guy goes in here. So, I'll show you what that looks like. And here, we pick it up, put it in here, and boom. Right? All done. Now I would have put 2 scoops of bran in here before, but boom, done. Next. That's it. This ridiculousness that I'm having to do right now of swapping to a different mesh, a different blue tray, is because I use these in the colony, right? Those are all stacked, all vertical. That's all those blue trays, exactly like this. And this mesh, or I'm sorry, this insert here does not fit. It gets stuck. Now I can jam it down in there, but then that messes with, what happens there is these sides get bowed out and it messes with the integrity of going high. So what I did is, there's the router outside that I walked by. You can see the width here. The width here is smaller. So I just routed off one whole side of this, and now those fit down in there nice and smooth. So I did it on 9 of them, just to test. And we'll see how these things stack, how the trays move, make sure everything's okay. Anytime you're dealing with processes with live insects, change one thing at a time. Because if you change, ooh, you might know what that is. What this is. That's potentially what I thought it was, is the pantry moth, but I think it's just crusted wheat bran, which is much better than what I thought. Yeah, there's no pantry moth water in there. I had an outbreak of that this summer. And what I found is the expensive pantry moth trap, they're not really worth it. The regular fly traps, the nice cheap ones you can get anywhere, they work just as well, if not better. So I'm not using the pantry moth trap anymore, just fly trap. Regular sticky fly trap. Chaotic darkness. Eggs. Yes, there were eggs on there. The females lay the eggs, so they have a called an ovipositor. There's their adult organ, we shall say. Remember, we're keeping it kid friendly. So the adult organ goes down through this mesh and lays those eggs down into the bran, where they're nice and safe from the males who like to cannibalize and eat the eggs. I mean, come on, nature, what are you doing? But this way they can't, and from a farming perspective, That's what we want. Moss, I had that problem once. It was horrible. Yes, I do not like it. What I'll say from a mealworm farming perspective, and El Dos, let me get it. El Dos Conocido, I see your comment. We'll get there. What I'll say from a mealworm farming perspective is that the pantry moths were not bad. They did not negatively impact the mealworms. Not a huge issue from my perspective. Just annoying. I mean, super annoying. But I also tackled them proactively and made sure to continue leaving the traps out, those fly traps and whatnot. So it could have gotten worse, but what I really don't like is grain mites. I've had them multiple times. The most recent was last year, and it's just, those will destroy a colony. That's not good. All right, I'm gonna get better at saying this. El Desconocido. El Desconocido. I wonder what I'm saying. I've been saying keep it kid friendly. What am I saying? I was talking to Trisquito and maybe order half a pallet of the blue trays. Now that you mention it, so I've been buying from them for, I want to say, 2 years. Multiple purchases, multiple shipments. Every time it's a good interaction. I like the guys up there. Alexis is the main person who's been there a long time. He's fantastic. And for the longest time, they were just doing pallets. But I do think that recently they're exploring the option of, like what you mentioned, like half of a pallet or a few trays, although shipping on a few trays is going to be crazy expensive. You really got to want them. Let's see, what was the pest name you just mentioned? Grain mites. Grain, like grain that you would eat. Grain mites. I have a link on my website, midwestmealworms.com/mites, or no, midwestmealworms.com/pages/mites. That goes through the mite protocol of what to do when you get grain mites. And it will happen, like, no matter how hard you try, no matter how well you are about cooking your substrate or deep freezing it like I do, you will get mites at some point. And so, being ready for that, split pea flour is the main combatant, along with lowering humidity. So, but I've got a whole playlist on that on my YouTube page. It might be here on TikTok, I don't remember, to be honest. Alright, only 1.5 more to go. And then I might be done for the day. If you guys have any other questions, just let me know. I've got my Darth Vader's voice going. Full face respirator, keeping me safe so I can keep talking to you guys. The frass in the bran will cause my asthma to go nuts, so that's why we're doing that. And you should wear one as well should you ever do this. Because if you don't have allergies, you'll develop one from exposure. I'm an admin in a Facebook group for mealworm folks, and every year we always have people come in and say, you know, I started raising mealworms and now I'm coughing. Anybody experience that? Yes, you have allergies now. So be careful. I was going to buy 10 trays and the shipping was more expensive than the trays. Yes, that's exactly what I was talking about. It's just not, I mean, it's not their fault, right? It's just it's shipping. That's kind of how it works. But that's what I found as well. Like, whenever folks would say, like, hey, can I have 10 trays? Like, for me to box up 10 trays and ship it is a huge pain in the neck to begin with. But then to, like, now you're looking at custom sizes, right? Real big. It's just, it becomes a bigger issue than it's worth. If you are near central Missouri, you are welcome to come by. I don't know if I have any trays I could sell, but if you're only wanting 10, well, half of a pallet. I don't have half a pallet to spare. But if you want to come, like, see them, try them, feel them, that sort of thing, my farm is always open by appointment. So, you know, I do have another person here. Oh, California, dang it! Let me think if I know anyone out in California that has those trays. These are becoming more popular. I will say that. Like insect farming, insect production at a smaller scale is becoming something folks are curious about. So let me think about the other thing I used for a long time. That guy, those white dough proofing trays. I ran for years, and I mean like 2-3 years using just those. I ran as a business using those. So those are white dough proofing trays from webstrontstore.com. And all good. Oh shoot, I'm getting a phone call. Okay, I'm back. Are you guys back? Is everyone there? I don't know, maybe you heard me talking to Doug, I'm not sure. I'm gonna need to, I think once I finish this tray, I'm gonna need to wrap up because Doug is on his way and we have to talk about some things. But as I was saying, so, well, see now I'm not sure what I'm saying, so should I say? Remember, keeping it kid friendly, but if you ever want to come by, you're welcome to, but you're out in Cali, it'll be rough. Dough proofing trays, that's what I was talking about. I got those from webstrontstore.com. They are 18 by 26 by 3. They have lots of different options, so get something that works for you. Honestly, trays can be anything. I guess I should say if anybody needs a lot of mealworms, hit me up. Mealworms.com. I'm not a good salesperson. I'm just here to have fun. Alright, that one's all good. Okay, so that's done. Put this on the stack. We'll cut those up. I don't know, man. Let's be honest, I don't know, man. On top here, fill the gaps. What is the image of the mesh insert versus the Beacon version? Cost, build, etc. The Beacon Camp version. I'm going to try to be nice. So let me frame it a little bit. The Beacon Camp version was the version I got a hold of was the first iteration, the first design, the first production run, the first foray into the inserts. And I just did not like them. They were flimsy. The mesh is made out of plastic, and so it bends just from moving and normal operation. My presumption is that if you're using robots for this, maybe that doesn't happen. But I found that they began to ripple, which caused issues. They begin to fall apart. They're just not sturdy. Compared to these trays, like these, the Beacon Camp trays are amazing, absolutely fantastic. Do not buy knockoff trays of these things because these are fantastic. The knockoffs actually have a couple down there. They're flimsier, cheaper. Don't do it. Cost-wise, I think it was comparable. I couldn't get them from Canada, so they had to come from overseas. So they were a little bit cheaper on cost, but more expensive on shipping. These were comparable because of that. I was able to get way more of these for the same cost. And these are just, in my opinion, better quality, but we shall see, right? Like, this is the third week in use, second swap, and things are still going well. It took probably 6 or 7 swaps before I noticed any issues with the Beacon Camp inserts. So, yeah. Alright. these guys are done, and they're going to join their other beetle friends. Oh, that's heavy. So that's what we just did. There's one, two, there's another one behind it, and then all of those filled with beetles, making more mealworms. And then all of these, whoop, all these are around here, these are around here, those are all larvae that are pupating to keep the colony going, make more beetles. That up there is new. I'll talk about that in another video. Ooh, making me dizzy. Alright, I need to wrap up. I've got to get this stuff squared away before Doug gets here. And then I'm going to be done for the day. So, thank you guys so much for joining. If there's any questions you have or anything else you want to see, shoot me a message or comment on some videos. I really appreciate it. How much humidity do you have in there? I am at, I want to say 50 to 60%. And I monitor it. I'm going to plug this company because I love them. I bought these years ago. This is a sensor push. Sensor push. These things are fantastic. Battery life is phenomenal. Super easy to change the battery. I maybe change it. Every time I change it, I have to go find my batteries. I can't remember where they are. That's how good these things are, is that you don't have to change them that frequently. Temperature, humidity, dew point, pressure, and one other thing. But the main ones that I use are temp and humidity. I've started tracking the dew point and the pressure just to see if there's a correlation with growth or something. But I have three of these in the farm at different places, but this helps me monitor the humidity. But to keep the place in check, 50 to 60% humidity, I actually have to dehumidify. And I still am dehumidifying even though it's November. We'll see what happens when it gets really cold. But I've got that thing running all the time. It vents outside, or not, doesn't vent outside, it empties outside. Temperature is 80 Fahrenheit. 70, it'll fluctuate down to 77, the heat will kick on, or, vice versa. It might get to 81 and the air conditioning kicks on, but 80 Fahrenheit is prime. You could go higher and you'll get better production. The concern with that is, let's say, it just happened recently. Last summer was 110 here, and what happens if that went out, my HVAC, right? If I'm running at 85 in here, I have less time to get that air conditioner fixed before the temperature becomes a problem. And so I run at 80. I also physically don't want to work in 85 and above. It's just not fun. So 80 Fahrenheit. All right, send me more questions. I'm going to end the live for right now, but not before I say goodbye. How do I turn this around? I sound like an old person. Oh, heck with it. Let's do it the old way. Thank you very much for coming. I appreciate it. If you need any mealworms, hit me up. Like and follow, all that jazz, and I'll see you next time.